chapter 7, the people suffer their only defeat throughout the book of Joshua, Battle of Ai. It's right after Jericho, and the reason they lose is because God had given very specific instructions about Jericho and what they were supposed to do. They were supposed to destroy everything there. They weren't supposed to keep any of the treasure, no plundering, none of that. That they were supposed to get rid of it or give it to God, and none of it was for themselves. They weren't supposed to keep any of it. Someone did. His name was Achan, and God calls him out, sets him, brings him out from the people, shows them, this is why it happened. This is who did it, and deals with it. But at the end of Joshua, there's a moment where they reference back to that, and they say something really cool, really poignant for us. But at the end of the book, the 2.5 tribes, Reuben, Gad, East Manasseh, have done their part. They settled on the east side of the Jordan River. Everyone else is over on the west side of the river, conquering the land. But God told them, like, yes, you can stay over here, but you still have to send all your fighting men with them. You still have to help conquer the land, just like everybody else. And so they do that. They leave their homes. They've kind of started setting up there. But all the fighting age men come across. In fact, they go in front. And they come over and they do their part. And once they're done with that, Joshua releases them, says, all right, you guys can go home. And they do that. And when they get there, after a while, they build this altar that's an exact replica, just like the one that's in the tabernacle tent meeting, the ones the priests would use all the time. They build it. It looks just like that. They use all the same specifications, all that. So it looks just like it. And the other 9.5 tribes find out about this, and they go to them. They say, what are you doing? Why are you disobeying God like this? Don't you know that affects all of us? Now, and it turns out that they weren't trying to offer sacrifices on it. They weren't disobeying God. They were doing it to remind future generations that, hey, I know we live across the river, but we're all still the people of God. Don't forget about us. They weren't offering sacrifices. But in that moment where the people of Israel think they are, where they go to them, they reference back to Achan. They say this, that one man broke God's law, but all the Israelites were punished. Achan died because of his sin, but others also died. Reminding them that if they screw up, if they sin, when they mess things up like that, make a mess of it, that it's not just going to affect them. This isn't just about you. That your sin doesn't just affect you, it affects all of us. Achan was the only one who disobeyed God and kept things from Jericho that he wasn't supposed to keep. But because of that, God didn't go with them in the battle at Ai, that they went off on their own and they were defeated, and people lost their lives in that battle because of Achan's sin. Our sin is the same way. It affects more than just me. It affects more than just my relationship with God. It affects the body. It affects the family. It has consequences. And those consequences aren't just about me sometimes. We like to think that. Especially, those secret sins, those things that we do that nobody else knows about. They're like, well, I know God knows about this, but, it's just, he forgives me, and so we're okay. We can kind of push through that. It doesn't really affect anybody else. It does. Any distance we put between God and ourselves has an effect on the family. That's why we're made to be part of a family. That's why Paul talks about us being the body of Christ. And anytime there's something wrong with one part of the body, other parts of the body are affected by it. That when you're injured or when you're sick or whatever, that this part's not working right, but also that causes other things not to work right, not to do things correctly. It affects the entire body when one part isn't right. That's why God tells us to build each other up, to hold each other accountable, to encourage one another, to spur one another on towards good deeds. I was in high school, our football team, that every time we had to kick off, we had this big rope we'd always pick up and hold all together, because the coaches had this phrase that they used with us all the time. They said, hold the rope. And they would explain, that holding the rope meant doing your part. That it takes all of us. That this isn't an individual sport, that one guy doesn't go out on the field and do everything, that we all have to do our part. And whether that's a part as little as, hey, you're over here in practice helping us get ready for the game, all the way to you're the star of the team, whatever it might be, you have a part to play. You need to hold the rope. God tells us the same thing, that we are part of a family, we are part of a body, and that you have a role to play in this body. You're part of the body, and all the parts of the body need to work correctly for the body to be right, for it to work it, the best that it can be. We need everybody. We need all of us following after Jesus, pulling each other along, spurring one another on towards good deeds, as it says. I love that phrase. That I'm not just doing something myself. I'm trying to get other people to do it too. I'm trying to help you, and you're trying to help me, and we do this together. That's true for the good things that we do. It's also true for the times where we struggle. We can be the thing that holds it back, that it causes moments like what Achan does, where, yeah, he's the one that sinned, but it affected the entire body. Folks, we need to remember we're part of a family, we're part of a body, that our relationship with God is not just about him and us. It's about the whole body of Christ. We need to hold the rope and follow Jesus together. Love you guys.